It's time to go!
Everyone, welcome back to the Voice of Reason we're calling Mufc Realist TV. It's Monday today and I'm tired. I am absolutely furious and I just want to dust off this weekend blues and focus ahead because that's the only way you can go forward. We don't look back in anger like the Oasis song. You know, what would you be as a human being if you just look back in anger? You will only be bitter. You can always look forward as an individual. But as a global community, we got to address the question, are we in crisis? Are we? Because apparently media is spinning the plate to saying that we are in crisis and that it's kind of feeding your mentality, your weakness. Manchester United is facing a very difficult week. We have Bayern away. That's what we're going to talk about. We have Burnley away a little bit later on the weekend. Hence, we need to come together as a global community like today to show a little bit of love and support and respect. You know, it's not been easy for the past 2 weeks. I know. You know, I feel it. Personally, I feel it too. Glazers are spinning their agenda, you know, in a way, back the manager, hire the new manager, give him a little bit money, you know, give him a little bit of a shirt signings, and we fans get giddy, you know. But come to the second year, they turn off the tap. We qualify into Champions League. They don't back the manager. They give him 100, 120. And what are you going to do with 120 million in this market? Inflation. Nothing. You know what? Second season come around and we sack the manager. And then we hire the next shiny thing. And you guys are screaming, sack the manager because you fell for the Glazer trap. Yeah. Glazers are feeding the media and media is feeding you. We are 5 games into the season, people, with a lot of ball to be played. Yet we are here hitting the panic button, right? We are sinking. We're screaming like the movie Titanic. Jack, come back. And some people on Twitter are screaming, Ole, please come back. Seriously. Why cry wolf? At the end of the day, we are shit. I understand we are this, we are shit, but we are Manchester United. We are the biggest club and you guys are the victim. We fan base are the victim and they feed you fans with this garbage to take the hit. Now is not the time to panic, people. It's like if you're watching too much Netflix, you've seen that Fifth Sense, I see dead people. Well, you've seen that movie 5-6 times before, haven't you? They're selling you a blockbuster script, like, you know, The Walking Dead. Or are you dead in the head? You know, they sold you this blockbuster script that you read before. So don't fall for the trap, people. Stick with us. Talk to us. Because we'd rather be the Three Musketeers. You know, you fall. What are they saying with the Three Musketeers? One for all for one. We are Manchester United. You know, or we live by the sword, we die by the sword. We don't flip-flop around this in this channel. I would just simply like to quote from Braveheart. They can't take our lives, but they can take away our freedom. Are you ready to rumble this?
Now, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world
on Mufc Realist TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas, let's get ready to rumble!
I want to talk about the latest Glazer story, right? Before we kick on the show, right? So bear with me. I'm going to bring this to the stage. Can we see this? Are you there with us? Can you remove Kev McGee there as well? Well, stories came out today. And for you guys who's been following this podcast, we've been doing educational platform, over 70 videos over 11 months, laying down the overall educational groundwork regarding the sales takeover and the financial predicaments and all that stuff. And it's clear and obvious that if it's Rain Group, they're not communicating to the British mainstream so-called sports journalist or Fabrizio Romano to break the story. That is one logical piece that you have to put in your mind. The one that will get this exclusive is the business publications in terms of Reuters and Bloomberg. So don't shoot the Bloombergs down or Reuters. At the end of the day, what this sports journalist is trying to do, according to my opinion, guys, if you can agree with me, they're looking for the biggest scoop of the century. They're utilizing Manchester United as the gravy train. So therefore, I've been always saying that from a business financial perspective, you will expect to hear something at the latest November. Why I'm saying so? Because the physical financial year, or at least the planning for the physical Q1 2024 starts always in October with the board directors and the financial planning. So it makes no sense to lay down a new financial planning with Glazers on board. And therefore, some reports are also saying, even Neil Costis was saying he was played down because it's the Sun to say expected in October, November. There's always some truthful elements when people coming out to report these things, right? And David Hellier, Bloomberg journalist, which I respect, was saying there's nothing happening at the moment, and exactly what we've been told, August to September. But I believe the process and progress the next few weeks. My feeling is that Sheik Jassim will be succeed in taking over the club at the end. And this is what I also been saying, been consistent of, if you know what I know. I responded to this tweet as well, for the record. There's always some truth in it. The truth is always in the middle, people. Bloomberg will have the exclusivity or Reuters to break this story. And this is the partner what Rain Group is working with. The financial timelines make sense. Before the end of financial year to hand over the keys. The new establishment start fresh with new Q1. Guys, I want to hear from you guys. What do you reckon? I mean, in terms of the gravy train, where the battle of the so-called sports journalists. I'm not going to mention names because I do respect them. But are you agree from a logical business financial perspective that this will happen at the end of Q3, right? I want to hear from Jay.
Okay, pardon me, Mick. To your credit, you've always been very measured and analytical in your analysis of a takeover. You haven't jumped on any of the gravy trains like the popular outlets have, like our competitors. And secondly, I will say the Qatari group, they're not going to break the story to lads in the Atlantic. They're not going to give it to a tapping merchant like Fritzy or Mano.
Nope.
They're going to give it to a world-renowned, recognized outlet such as Reuters or Bloomberg, and they're the facts. And your average punter sitting at home that reads the red tops or is constantly looking for information on Twitter, they're looking in the wrong area.
No, 100%.
Yeah. So, and you're saying there about you've got your financial budget broken down into quarters. So already, the companies are looking forward to Q1 for January next year. So if we're to take even half of that statement to be true, looking at a takeover in early Q1 04, I don't think any of the fans would have a problem with that.
No, 100% no. I mean, I believe in Bloomberg. I believe in Amrabat Sen. I believe in Reuters because they have no dog in the fight. They only report on mergers and acquisition facts. But I do respect transfer journalists and sports journalists because they're good at what they're doing. But when you start believing that, I don't believe it until I hear it from Mike Keegan and Fabrizio Romano. Are they business journalists?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, because these people, they do have contacts with agents and some club officials, 100%. But they don't have direct contact with Rain Group. They don't have contact direct with Sheik Jassim and I2 Holding Foundation. What they do might have is a contact within Ineos. And Ineos is also been coming out leaking our concession stories that you've seen it, right? They're threatening to walk away because Glazers wants, to stay in power, have voting power. And this is to me like more of a concession PR strategy to say, hey, the loser will always come up with some statement and excuse, and they will use this as excuse that at least we tried, and they wanted to have control, and therefore we backed away. Poppy, what do you think?
You know, the thing with Sheik Jassim and Surgeon Radcliffe is such an interesting thing, because I think it's also more than just there's money, but then there's a battle of patience. And I feel like it's one of those things that where, like, you know, we have seen, of course, we know that the sale of a club is not like you're selling like, you know, a cell phone. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of, like, you know, accounting that has to go into it. So you'd expect that by now this process would be done. And for me, there's a little bit of like, when the media produces a story like this, I take it with a grain of salt, because I'm not like, I understand that they're journalists and they need to make a living, and they need to generate some story. So sometimes I'm kind of a little bit like, who is this person that's talking? What, you know, what other things have they been covering? So when we're talking of credible outlets like Reuters and Bloomberg, we're actually talking about like real news that is
Yeah.
going to happen, you know? So it makes me a little bit like, I'm excited that, you know, the end is near. I was hoping that it was going to be more in timing with the season, like the actual like football, you know, calendar, but it makes sense that it has to kind of coincide with the financial year, you
Well,
know?
Phil, I'm going to take it to you as well, because majority of the fan base was actually deluding the same what Poppy was hoping, that we get the new owners before the start of the transfer window, so we can actually go and buy players. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So we ended up getting another credit line from Bank of America. This is the last credit line, but per my understanding, because we are 1 billion over in debt now, and Bank of America wants the money back. They're not going to lend us any more money. So logically speaking, I want to hear from you, sir.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I've not got like any inside scoop or anything. I just kind of what I read like everybody else, what I hear from you guys. But from my point of view, I think that, you know, I didn't think that they were going to come in before the transfer window, because if there was a takeover about to happen, it would probably be the worst time, because your prices would just get completely inflated.
Yes, we said that.
And we heard throughout the window that we were knocking down prices, saying we couldn't afford to pay anymore, and we were buying players that clubs are willing to sell. So we weren't like going in for I forgot his name, from the striker who 143 million. Everyone thought we were going to be getting from Napoli. Begins with O, can't think of his name. Osimhen. There you go. Sorry, Victor Osimhen. You know, this was one we were linked with Osimhen, with Kane, with all this money that was coming, and then it just didn't happen.
Just didn't. No.
I think if it's going to happen, it's got to happen soon. They can't just, any business, no matter how much they're going to make from the sale, can't afford to just keep losing, because the more that they're losing, the more they have to keep asking for.
Yeah.
So to me, it's got to come to a head very soon, because it's got to come to a point where any new potential buyers are going to go, hang on a minute, you're losing this much, we're not going to pay you that much for it. So it's got to come to a head soon.
Okay. Before we close that topic, I want to come back to all of you and the VR room as well. For me, as a business acumen, as a somebody that has a lot of experience in these kind of matters, I think that the sales process is actually on time. Looking that it's a multi-billion-dollar deal, to be honest. We are in November. We are actually 12 months in the sales process takeover, and if you look at mergers and acquisition, some acquisitions take over 2 years. 100%. On the other hand, people were saying, well, hang on, Everton got sold very quickly, but it was sold for peanuts. They're not a publicly listed company either on New York Stock Exchange. There's a lot of loopholes that you need to fix. There's a lot of legality stuff that you need to fix. And therefore, you have a lot of, retained lawyers working on it. Everyone makes money at the end of the day. So this, for me, turned out to be that, at the end of the day, we saw that we were given 120 million in credit, and Glazers would not approve anymore. So basically, they had to finesse everything. They literally had to scrape the barrel to get Sophie Amrabat on a loan deal, right? And this tells me that the Glazers has given up. At the end of the day, they're not willing to invest any more money. They are in deep shit. I'm sorry, my language. They're in financial crisis themselves. The stock market that we've seen, somebody's been manipulating it purposely to have a low stock price at $20 right now. And this can only benefit one person. If it's, let's say, if it's Ineos model, what they offered is to have a down payment of 2 billion, and then within 3 years, depending on how the stock market is performing, they will buy them out on a premium, has caused some confusion within the Rain Group and Glazers. At the end of the day, you have the legal challenges from the minority investors, then they don't favor this as well. So therefore, the Ineos bid is dead out of the water, according to my opinion, right? And the media is playing 2 months catch up, right? I think I'm 100%. I wouldn't say 100%, but according to my opinion, according to what I know, is they made a purchase agreement with the Glazers, with the advisory of Rothams and Lathams and Watkins and all them stuff and Rain Group to say, take this deal. This is the best what you can get, right? You're literally walking out with 6 billion. Somebody's literally paying off your bar tab that you've been racking up, having VIP champagnes and Grey Goose and having a party and racking up all the debt bills on the credit card, and somebody's willing to pay that off. Plus, you're walking away with 6 billion in each pocket. Tell me, Glazeronomics, if you would not take it, why would you have more money? You know, it doesn't really make sense. So at the end of the day, what I see, I'm tired of this. I just want to see a resolution. We need answers. Ten Hag needs answers, because clear and obvious he's been blocking his vision, to be honest, guys. The love and support for you, Jarvis, is big as well, massively. So at the end of the day, what I say here is what I believe, and what I know is what I know. If you followed my factual educational podcast, go check it out. It's called Glaze It Out Playlist. You might learn a thing or two. But I stopped believing in anything that comes out there in the ether and just apply my logic, sense, and reasoning. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Enough of this takeover, gash.
Super chat, super chat, super chat. Super chat.
We have lots of love from Nigel Flynn coming into you, Jay, as well. You were bang on with Wan-Bissaka yesterday, Jay. He said, interestingly, David Hiller Bloomberg has only spoken 3 times interviews. That's a fact. Twitter update, and he's been knocked down by British media, but not today. That is a uppercut right there, Nigel Flynn. Thank you for your donation.
Thank you, Nigel. Appreciate it. Thank you, Nigel.
Yeah,
thank you.
You absolutely mentioned a point, because these Bloomberg journalists, they don't tweet constantly for attention, right?
Yeah.
And he's been spoken 3 times, tweeting when he's needed. He doesn't have a dog in the fight. And that's why I respect David Ornstein. The same thing what David Ornstein is doing. He only speaks when he has to. He doesn't tweet all the time. Well, you have likes of... Can we mention names?
Go ahead. Please do.
Keegan, Jacobs, who else do we have there? Wheeler, all of them.
The entire athletic staff.
The entire athletic staff. That you have to pay the subscription to read at the end of the day. That's the thing. So big up, Nigel. Anyway, big up.
Thank you, Nigel, for your support.
Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all, folks. That's what we have to offer. Thank you.
That's all, folks.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe.